Bonjour, everyone. Hi, this is Neshi Lokotz. Welcome to Star Nation's organization's main fan page, where I do this live stream pretty much every day. And we're going to be doing this Sunday through Thursday. I have to laugh a little bit because technology, right? I was ready to start the broadcast, the live stream, and my video didn't show up. I didn't know what was going on. What in the heck was that about? I just had a black screen. I just had to refresh and everything's fine, but that was weird. That was weird. So anyway, welcome to the show. And today is Thursday, May 9th. May 9th. And I am broadcasting from Star Nation's Academy, which is just west of my house, maybe a country block west of my house. And yeah, and so today it's really kind of cold and rainy and windy here. It's not very warm. I think the high today is supposed to be 43 degrees, I think, something like that. It's cold. I know it's not 30 below, but still, it's damp and it's cold. Oh well, we're supposed to have a nice weekend though, so that's all right. Before we get going too far down the road with the card information and the discussion, I'm going to take my phone and I'm going to share. And you know the drill, guys. I invite you to also share, and we'll see who is here to be part of the show, part of the live stream, right? Okay, so I'm going to share it. I'm going to share it over to my news feed. All right, just so that my friends know that I'm live streaming. There we go. Whoops. There we go. Punctuation is always a good thing. There. There we go. Now, got to turn down my sound. Let's see who's in the chat. Oh, it looks like Stephanie's been in the house already doing posts. Thank you, Stephanie. I hope Ben is feeling better. Every time I see the post that she does, I think, oh my goodness, we do a lot. There's a lot of information there. All right. And Rob is here. Grooviness abounds. Good. It's good. And why not, right? I knew you'd find it. Yeah. There we go. And Julie's here too. Julie Shumway Hill. Good to have you here. And Rob is saying it's 71 degrees there. Oh, man. We haven't seen 70 degrees in like a week and a half. Yeah. Like I said, it's windy and it's cold, rainy. At least I shouldn't say rainy. It's not. It's kind of misty every once in a while, but other than that, we haven't. Yesterday it rained all day, but yeah, tomorrow might be a little bit warmer. Who knows? George likes it. That's all I know. Rochelle's here too. Hello, Rochelle. She's saying hello, Neshi. Now I haven't asked this question in a while, right? And I think that might be a good idea to do that. Oh, that's right. Stephanie, that's right. Hi, Stephanie. That's right. I saw the picture that you sent me and the one that you posted. They had snow in Colorado. Now, does that happen often? I mean, I know you said something about that's why you never plant anything before Mother's Day. And so, but it doesn't stay around, right? I mean, it like probably melts within the day, I would imagine. And how many inches did you get? It looked like a couple. So anyway, that's the weather report, right? One of the things that I wanted to ask you guys this morning is, and I haven't asked it in a while. So with this being the last day that we're going to be doing live streams this week, I thought it might be a good time to ask. How many people have done their grounding today? If you haven't, If you haven't, you might want to take a moment to do that before we show the first card, okay? Because I think it would be beneficial for you to be grounded and centered, to take in the information that's being offered from Spirit today. Yeah. So I'll just give you a moment to do that if you haven't. Stephanie's saying, yeah, this part of Colorado can get snow in July. It's melting off right now, but it is snowing again. Holy smokes. Wow. Yeah. You gotta love winter. Every year, and it's usually in January, February that I end up saying this to Paul, just about every year, right around that time, I tell him, what are we still doing here? Uh, we have the entire world that we could live in somewhere, and we choose to live here when it's cold and snowy and blizzards and we haven't seen the sun in weeks. What are we still doing here? And then spring rolls around and we get one of those 70 degrees days with blue sky and the buds on the trees and things like that. It's like, okay, and now I remember why. Good, Rochelle. Yay. And thank you for sharing. Thank you. And Julie says, I've grounded. Need to do again. Oh, too bad. Too bad. But yeah, grounding will definitely help. That's true. Do you remember when you were a kid and you're going someplace with your parents and it's like, because there was three of us at home. In my family there's a total of 5 kids, right? But 3 at home. The older 2 were already out on their own, and my dad would go, is everybody ready to go? And everybody's been to the bathroom. And never fails. You get not very far down the road and somebody had to use the bathroom. And it's like, I thought I asked you. Yeah. A Norwegian left his home. Oh my gosh. To find a place as cold and miserable as the place he left. Oh my goodness. Yeah. Well, here in our state where I live, which is in the northwestern part of the state, we do have a lot of Norwegian people who settled this area of the state. And we also have, let's see, on the eastern part of the state, northeastern, I should say, in the southern part as well, is a lot more German descent settlers that came in. And and so we actually have the two. And it's kind of, my mom tells a story about the boarding school that she was sent to was a Lutheran boarding school and a mission school. And of course, they couldn't speak Ho-Chunk there or Potawatomi, or any of the kids. They couldn't speak their language there because they had Oneida and Menominee, Ho-Chunk, Potawatomi, Ojibwa, like at least 5 different nations at that boarding school. And so they had to speak English, right? But they had to sing the hymns in Norwegian. And my mom tells me, because I never did understand that. We couldn't speak our own language, but we had to sing the hymns in Norwegian. So she says, so none of us really even knew what we were saying, what we were singing. Yeah, interesting, isn't it? All right. So, hopefully everybody has grounded, and we're going to get to the card. We only have one card today. And this is Tunkasila Oniwan. I hope I said that right. Tunkasila Oniwan. Grandfather's breath. And it's all about faith. Let's see, I'm going to go this direction so I'm not covering up the words. Tunkasila Oniwan. Grandfather's breath. It's about faith. And what you see in here is the inside of a sweat lodge, the inside of an inipi, with the hut stones in the center. And what they do is they put water onto the stones to create steam. And they call that the grandfather's breath. Although the stones in there are also grandmothers. So it's grandfathers and grandmothers. The fire keeper, they start the sacred fire earlier in the day to really heat the stones up, and so that they can begin the sweat lodge, hours later. Yeah. And let me tell you, it gets hot. I don't know the ceremonies that are around this. There's many. There's many. There are songs that are sung while they're looking for the stones. There's songs that are sung as they're retrieving the wood for the fire. There are songs that are sung when they start the fire, prayers. And so the whole process is a ceremony, right? And so when the fire keeper brings the stones into the sweat lodge, they're coming in with them, and they're actually greeting them and saying hello to them and thanking them. Thank you, grandfather. Thank you, grandmother. And it's in the rotation. Every other one is a grandfather. Every other one is a grandmother. Okay, and why do they call them that? It's because, remember, stone people. Stone people are the historians. They keep the records of all the happenings that happens on Earth, and so they hold a lot of information, a lot of wisdom, and so that's why they're called grandmother and grandfather. It's out of respect, right? It's out of respect. I know what you mean, Rob. When I saw the picture, for those who haven't been in a sweat lodge, the inside of the sweat lodge is not bright like this. It is dark, dark, dark. So dark that you don't know if your eyes are open or closed. Can't see your hand in front of your face. It's very dark. And when they put the cedar onto the stones and it sparks, you can see that, of course, right? And you can hear the water when it hits the stones as it hisses and sizzles. And sometimes you can actually, for those who are clairaudient, you can actually hear the stones speaking, right? Yeah. So the steam is what they call Tunkasila Oniwan, the grandfather's breath. And this card is all about faith. It's all about faith. Notice at the very top of the picture, which would be the top of the sweat lodge, where the ribs of the lodge come together up at the top. It's shaped into a star, so it represents the star beams at the very top. And I have to admit that this is a very traditional way of looking at the sweat lodge, because you can tell that they're all men, and there's many of them in there. If you look behind them, you can't really tell if those are other men, humans, two-legged, sitting in another row behind them, or perhaps those are spirits in the background. Yeah. So here is what the message is, the channeled message, okay, is about this card, the explanation. It says, I speak as you have asked. A long time has passed since I've been asked, so I will do my best to share an understanding of myself. I am not wholly of your world. I do not often make use of words. I am a dimension of transformation, a vehicle of transmutation, a path of release, and a channel of communication. Goes on to say that I am the breath of your creation. You may give your disease over to me and know relief. Through me, you may know your strength and heal from within. You may recreate yourself. This is the gift of your Creator, whose breath I am. So basically, the stones are talking here, right? And they're saying that that they've been asked to speak, and by being asked to speak, is they've been selected to be a part of the sweat lodge, and so they have the opportunity to speak. I was just trying to see if there was any images in the steam, in the picture, because in live sweat lodge, we don't see the steam, not until they open the door, and there's each of the cardinal directions has a door, but generally they're either working out of the eastern door or the western door. And after each round, because there's 4 rounds, typically, some there's more, that all of the steam and all of the prayers and all of the requests, okay, when they open the door, they're all let out into the universe. And the author here actually explains this pretty good, I think. The tradition of the card is grandfather's breath appears in the lodge as steam. The steam dilates the pores of the skin and forces all maladies out of the body through perspiration. When the lodge door is opened, feelings and prayers escape with the steam, and the wind disperses these prayers to each of the 4 directions. Yeah. So there's healing being done on all 4 of your bodies when you're in the sweat lodge. Your mental, your emotional, your physical, and your spiritual. And I believe that that's why it's so potent to be in there. Prayers, when you have that many people in a sweat lodge and they're in their hearts, right? And they're saying their prayers when they're smoking the pipe, it carries a very high vibration and a very powerful vibration, right? Yeah. It's really no different than any other faith, I think. And I say that kind of slowly because I think that you really have to, what the key here is to be in your heart and to make that connection with spirit. And I do believe that there's other traditions, other cultures, other beliefs that are capable of that at their root. They're capable of it. Yeah. And so when you get a large group of people together, and they're all praying together, you can raise some vibrations, can't you? Rochelle says, I see 3 faces in the steam. You do? Yeah, I see 1, 2. One's kind of sideways, I think, right? So grandfather's breath is the steam coming from the stones. So let's talk about that just a little bit. Thought just went through really quickly, so I have to make sure I say this out loud, is I do have to end the show just a little bit earlier, about 10 minutes earlier than we usually do, okay? Why? Is because Ed Langdon's show is coming up right behind us, and I want to make sure that I give you guys enough time that if you want to be able to be in the chat in that particular show, that I give you time in between, right? And it gives me time in between as well, because I'll leave here and go home and let George out, and because right now he's sleeping in the car, and I'm going to let him out, and so we have time in between the shows. Okay, all right. So grandfather's breath. There's a belief that our words are sacred. And the reason why our words are sacred is because our breath is behind the words. Yeah. And our breath comes from the Creator. So when we have our thoughts, and we can create with our thoughts, right? Especially when we put a lot of emotion behind them, we manifest it quite quickly. We put it out there to the universe with our thoughts. And as soon as we have those thoughts, and then we say them out loud, we are creating our reality. That makes sense? Especially when you have a lot of emotion behind it. So you have to choose, what kind of emotion do you want behind your words? Do you want to have kindness and love, or you want to have fear and hate, or anything in between? Because it's going to get created. That's why, I know that we talked about this a few times, right? About when we have those kinds of thoughts, is to be aware of them. And as soon as you have a thought that isn't a very high vibrational thought, is that you can delete it. You can ask your team to help. Delete that last thought. That's mine. I mean, you might have something else that you use, but mine is delete that last thought, and we'll replace it with, right? But when we put our breath behind it with through the words, it's very similar to this. So the grandfather's breath, the stones are imparting to us information, supporting us, helping us to heal, helping us to purify our bodies and our minds. All right, so here is the meaning behind the card, okay? The meaning behind the card is grandfather's breath is the very breath of life. Water and heat combine in grandfather's breath, and your prayers are invisibly carried with the steam. Faith is the ability to trust proof unseen. It is the forerunner of brighter days and releases the soul from anxiety, stress, and turmoil. Faith that your prayers will be heard lightens your burdens, establishes a serene outlook, and allows for optimism. Believe that you are enveloped in safety. Since we do not always have the steam of the sweat lodge, you may wish to burn sage or tobacco as you pray, trusting that the smoke produced will carry our prayers to Wakantanka. And the meditation is, I honor the many opportunities given to me to restore my well-being. I'll say it again. I honor the many opportunities given to me to restore my well-being. So I think the reason why the author has the term faith with this card, right, is because when you're doing a sweat lodge, and in this moment, when the stones are creating the steam, is that you have to have faith that your prayers are being heard, your request is being heard, because everything, so much of it is unseen. There's very little tangible to it, and not enough for a mental mind to wrap around, right? Yeah. And the thing is that when you're in this moment in a sweat lodge, there are all kinds of spirits that are invited in. Who is ever pouring the lodge is doing that invitation, invoking. And so the spirits that are coming in have messages for you. They sometimes they're special healing kind of spirits that come in to help with the healing. And so a good portion of a sweat lodge is unseen. And so you have to have faith that something is really occurring. And sometimes you can actually hear them, hear the spirits. You can hear, because nobody's usually talking in the sweat lodge. I mean, there's songs being sung, but it's not like you sit in there and carry on a conversation with the person sitting next to you or behind you or in front of you. You're not there to carry on this conversation, right? But sometimes you can hear whispering, and you can hear someone talking, and those are spirits. Sometimes they'll show you things, right? And so, like I said, so much of it is coming from the unseen, that you have to have faith that your prayers are being heard. And I suppose it's not any different than for those who go to a Christian church, that when you're in a congregation and you're saying prayers, that you have to have faith that your prayers are being heard, right? But see, a lot of that is that you're actually being able to see the altar and the stained glass windows, and depending on the faith, you might have, some the priest is using a smudge, smoke, and you're able to actually see it with your physical eyes. In a sweat lodge, you can't see anything with your physical eyes. It's so dark, and it's hot. It's hot. So a lot of times when the heat is too much, you can kind of go, because you're sitting on the ground, right? You can go low. You can kind of bend at the waist and kind of bend over, and so it's not as hot closer to the ground. Yeah, and let me tell you, the eastern door gets hot. It does. All right, so Tunkasila Oniwan, grandfather's breath. Grandfather's breath. Assisting us in our purification in our communication. They use the term that they're a communication channel for us as well, and that's because all of our requests and prayers, maybe you're not feeling well, or and you're in there for a physical healing, and so the stones will take your pain as well, and so yeah. And so when they open the flap and the steam goes out, that's when all of our prayers and requests, everything is released into the universe, right? Yeah. Makes me want to do a sweat lodge. If I had one close enough to me, I would definitely go. And when they burn the cedar or the sage or whatever they put on the stones, because they can use all four of the sacred plants, right? Cedar, sage, tobacco, and sweetgrass. I could see the sweetgrass. I was trying to say the word, the sweetgrass. And when they put it on the stones, it smells really, really good too. Really good. How many people talk about Norwegian, as we were doing earlier in the conversation? For those who are maybe Finnish, right? The saunas are very similar. And I've never really done a traditional sauna, so I don't know if there's any kind of ritual or ceremony that the indigenous Finnish people used, because really that is a sweat lodge. Yeah, it's just done in a more permanent structure. It's just another culture's way of doing the same thing practically, right? Has anybody ever done a sauna, a Finnish sauna that is more of a traditional one? It's in the chat. I was wondering if anybody had any insight to that. Because I also believe the Norwegians had something of a sweat as well. Yeah. It's just interesting because we're really more alike than we are different, right? And so this is all about faith. Faith in the unseen. It's even faith in those that are there to help us. The stone people, right? Even the wood, the tree people, because they gave their life to be able to heat the stones, right? Yeah. So we have a lot of assistance. Very interesting. Here, there's something else that's going on in this picture that I wanted to mention, and that is, if you take a look near the fire, see if I can get it close enough to my camera. Do you see those lines either going toward the fire or coming from the fire? From the stones, I mean. Yeah, I kind of saw that and I thought, oh, that's energy. Energy lines that the artist showed, where there's either energy coming from the stones or maybe our energy going toward the stones. And the fact that there's two streams of steam going up too, right? And that man right in the center, where you can see his face and part of his body. That when we're sitting in an inipi, we have our individual experience, and yet we are in the energy of the group. Rob is saying, I've heard of a Swedish sauna and tried to simulate it at the gym that had a sauna, but wasn't able to get the shower cold enough. Oh, I see. Yeah, when they jump into the cold water. Yeah. Actually, the Finns do the same thing, except sometimes they use snow, right? They use snow to go out and kind of roll in the snow. I've been to spas where they have something similar, where you have the dry sauna, because you have a wet and a dry sauna, and they have a pool that is really cold. And so it's kind of, to be able to get the pores that open, and then in the cold water, they close, right? And so it's that opening and the closing. You have to have a good heart to do that. Yeah. It might. It might. You never know, though. You never know. Yeah. Now, see, to me, if you had, let's say you had a sauna, a Finnish sauna, that really you could have the semblance of a traditional sweat lodge. What you'd be missing would be the songs and the drummer for the songs. You'd be missing maybe because the songs are actually the ones that are calling in the spirit, and yeah, the one who's pouring the lodge is holding the energy for everybody, and saying the prayers. Yeah. And sometimes they'll actually do what we would call channeling at times. They allow spirit to speak through them. Yeah. So how many people want to go to a sauna, to a sweat lodge now, or a sauna? I do. There's not, to do a traditional sweat lodge. I would really like to have that opportunity again. And so I'm going to eventually find somebody closer to me that's pouring. But in the meantime, I could go to on Fort McCoy, which is about a 10-minute drive from here. Their gym does have a dry and a wet sauna. And I could go there, and I could probably even sing some of the songs. To put some ceremony to it, to bring in the spirit of, right? Yeah. Rob says, I will likely take one in the next chance I get, but that's a Western door. Yeah, and that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. The thing is that Western door medicine is very strong medicine. And you're going to be dealing with a lot of emotions in Western door. Yeah. And there's nothing wrong with it. If you have the opportunity to do that, I would take it. Yeah. It's Good stuff. The Eastern Door sweat lodges, have more to do with the mental thoughts, your thoughts, and although the songs are the same, it's just that the energy that's coming in um, from their altar is bringing in the medicine of the East rather than the West. Yeah. All right. Looking at the time, trying to think if there's anything else with the grandfather's breath that we need to cover. Just want to see this one thing. All right. So when we're working with grandfather's breath, so what does this mean for us today, right? What does it mean for us today? And remember, the card's about faith. And so it's really about faith in the unseen. Faith in the unseen. So when you say prayers, when you do any kind of ceremony, there is a variable, a factor of your faith. And they say that that when you have 100% faith, you can create miracles. They look like miracles, and it's kind of how. Now, Rob, you probably would know this story better than me. There is a story in the Bible about how Jesus walked on water, right? And that's because he had 100% faith that he could do that. That he had faith in the Spirit, in his own spirit, faith in the unseen, if you want. And he was talking to his disciples, right? And basically they said, well, if he can do it, we can do it. And they got out and they were trying to walk on the water as well. And there was one who actually took a few steps. And what happened, something like, went through his mind, like, oh, I can't believe this is actually happening. And so there was a smidgen of a lack of faith, and he fell into the water. Right? And so when we're talking about faith, maybe is doing a reflection. Take stock of it, evaluate it, ask yourself, what is my faith in the unseen, in spirit? What is my faith? How is it expressed? It's like my belief and my faith in the Creator, in that higher power, is 100%. And why and how is because of my experiences. The first time in my adult life, anyway, that I was shown was when my father-in-law was dying. And the night he died. Because I was helping him, right? And I was remembering hymns to sing to him. That I hadn't sung since I was a kid, right? And getting nudges from Spirit to say, maybe we could turn some, plays one of his favorite musicals, or maybe what we can do is say the Lord's Prayer together, or maybe So all of those things that were happening, and I knew 100% I knew that Al was feeling and knowing what everybody in that room was feeling and thinking, because I could feel it in him. Yeah. So that night I had so many different things that occurred that my faith in knowing there is a higher being, a creator, 100%. Yeah. And other things that have happened in my life too, but that is probably the most telling, the one that really opened my eyes and opened my heart to that. Yeah. And to be able to create um, a sacred space that was a loving sacred space so that Al could do whatever Al needed to do at that time. Right. Yeah. So maybe this card is really about how allowing us the opportunity to take in how do we experience our faith when there is no tangible proof of something's existence. Yeah. It gives us a chance to do that. I think that's what that's about. And so it's also about bringing in that information of the unseen in both our minds and our hearts. And maybe that's why there's that double column of steam. So taking that and sitting with it for a bit and seeing for yourself, evaluating for yourself what is your faith in the unseen. Thank you, Rob. I appreciate that. I told you you'd know more about it than me. Okay, so whatever resonated with you today with Tunkasila Oniwan's message about grandfather's breath, whether it was a word or a phrase or the whole thing, is my suggestion is to embrace it and see how the energy unfolds for you today, where this information would be helpful to you. Yeah. And if it didn't resonate, don't worry about it. It's okay. It's all right. There's always Sunday's card, right? You're so funny. You're so funny, Rob. Yep, Peter sank like a rock. Yeah, only because his name means the rock, right? Okay, so so coming up right behind us at the top of the hour is Ed Langdon, Life Wisdom with Ed Langdon, right? And Ed is all about talking to us about today, sharing with us about, what's the name of his show again? I should know this. I've only written it how many times. Releasing limiting beliefs. And so he's going to share with us about how our limiting beliefs affect us, affects our manifestation, the law of attraction, right? And then he's going to be doing some tapping to help us to release some of those limiting beliefs. And then the second half of the show is all about channeling. He's going to be answering questions through him from the Ascended Masters that he works with. So now, tomorrow and Saturday, I don't have a show on Friday and Saturday, okay? I'll be working on publishing stuff. In fact, tomorrow is all about publishing the magazine, Star Nations magazine, the May issue. And so watch for that. Yeah, and so I'll see you on Sunday at 3 p.m. Eastern Time for the next live stream, the daily live stream and group card draw. Okay, have a great weekend. Okay, enjoy the rest of your day this Thursday, and we'll see you on Sunday. All right, Bama Mina, in Potawatomi that means until we see each other again. Love you guys.